Welcome to this month's Town Administrators Report. I'm David Watts Jr., and with me is our Town Administrator, Steve Mayo. Welcome, Steve.
David, nice to see you in a virtual setting today.
Yes, we're doing the last one of the year on Zoom at the request of WCAT, and you know, all is good. But this kind of wraps up for us a pretty terrible year in a lot of respects.
Different anyway, different. You know, and we were going along just fine. I would say we were all in Wakefield in the United States, blissfully ignorant that this was coming right around the corner, and bang, right around St. Patrick's Day, we got hit with it. But you know, we were in a really, I thought, a really good place financially. Budgets were looking good. We were very hopeful to get a big increase in Chapter 70 money. We were spending more than $2 million in capital. On the financial side, we had just had some wonderful ceremonies. The Martin Luther King Day ceremony, which has become kind of an icon in the spring now or in the winter. It's been really a very poignant and great ceremony, well attended. One of my favorite events of the year is the Mass Municipal Association meeting in Boston. That's at the end of January, and I look forward to the speakers, the seminars, the breakout sessions. I've been privileged to serve on panels and just enjoy panels, and a lot of camaraderie with our fellow with our town council, among our town council and other town councils and selectmen and managers and mayors. So that's, and we bring a lot back too, things we can do. Very well attended White Ribbon Pledge, another event that has really taken off in Wakefield as we really address domestic violence.
Steve, for some new residents, let's let them into what the White Ribbon Pledge is.
Well, the White Ribbon Pledge is a pledge that is taken by really everybody, mainly men that come to this event. It's put on by the Wakefield Alliance Against Violence, and it really highlights the fact that there are many people in our hometown, many people in the Commonwealth, in the country, that suffer from domestic abuse. And it really puts a highlight on that, and it's very poignant as we take the pledge. You know, people that take the pledge that they will never engage in such a thing. And kind of started a few years ago with, you know, a few people in Wakefield. Mary Eldridge comes to mind. It started this. And there were maybe 4 or 5 of us that took the pledge the first year. I remember we took it in the library, in the lecture hall at the library. Then it's grown and grown. And now it's at the Savings Bank Theater, where you have, you know, 50, 70, close to 100 people there taking the pledge and really, you know, trying to expose this issue and trying to get people help to make sure that it doesn't happen. So that's really, what a great story about Wakefield. Look, and so that was very well attended. Women's Day, another very well attended event in Wakefield where we celebrate, you know, women in our community and some of our surrounding communities. And in March, really as this was coming along, we had our first volunteer day, where anybody who had served on a committee, was serving on a committee at that time, received a nice Wakefield pin and got thanks from the town council for being there. And then it seemed like a week later, the hammer fell and everything changed, and we were shut down. You know, but what is good and what is very important to note is that it didn't take us too long to kind of pick ourselves up and figure out what we could do.
Well, one of the things that we were most fortunate to have was effective leadership at the state level, which helped to guide municipalities and individuals both as to what needed to be done initially in the short term, and then, you know, looking more long term.
Yeah, I think what was and they still continue today to show leadership all through this. What was interesting to me in the beginning, which was very important, is that, you know, they really took the time, this at the state level, to not only consult with the local level to get our input, consult with Board of Health members, but very importantly, created sector-specific guidance. So what was the guidance for hair salons? What was the guidance for bowling alleys? What was the guidance for retail stores, restaurants, gyms? So we, in Wakefield and in other communities, we're very fortunate to have these sector protocols.
Yep.
Very well distributed. And as we move forward, we were able to do it. I thought you were going to say how fortunate we are to have a local community access station like WCAT. Which
We do have that too, and they have gone a long way to make sure that things could continue meeting wise throughout the pandemic, as well as the show. This is the 4th or 5th show, maybe 6th show we've done on Zoom this year.
Yes. And, all of the meetings being on Zoom, all of the public meetings, all of them being recorded. So really, in a way, the community is able to, has more access to meetings than they did before, albeit from the comfort or maybe at this point, craziness of being in your house all this time. But certainly take part in a lot of meetings. And I got to say that, town council in Wakefield was great in adopting and working with the administration, working with us to adopt Zoom and to, I'm not gonna say allow, but to really support these meetings going on, because some of our surrounding towns, some of their boards didn't meet until August or September. We missed, I think we canceled 1 week of meetings while we got our act together. And then bang, we were able to move forward via Zoom, via working with WCAT, making sure that people had access to the open meeting law, so they could see the meetings, had access to what was going on. All the meetings were recorded. So really, WCAT did a great job. And, it took us a couple of weeks or a week to get that all put together, but we did. And I'm very pleased about that.
And the town responded in other ways too, because it affected annual town meeting in that we had to put it off for a month and a half while figuring out how to do it safely.
Yeah, we wanted to, I guess in the beginning, maybe there was some hope that this would pass and that, would be over. And if we put it off a month, it would be fine. And then we put it off a little bit longer. We're kind of hampered in this environment with a open town meeting. So it does not lend itself to a Zoom format because anybody can join, anybody can vote. You would overwhelm a Zoom platform. Whereas some communities that have a representative town meeting, maybe a topic for another show, David, but they're able to have their 70, 80 people and take the vote that way. But so we put it off, and we worked very closely with our town clerk and our town moderator, two wonderful and excellent, competent people. And I think they hired an assistant town moderator too. I don't quite know how that happened, but he did an okay job too. No, David did a great job helping us out. And I think people were comfortable going to an open town meeting. People could be inside or outside. Unfortunately, the one in June was one of the hotter days, if not the hottest day of the year. But there was no way of knowing that we did it. But we did. We passed a pretty robust town meeting. There were 20-something articles. And we moved to a Saturday, which was an interesting dynamic. And a lot of people have said, Steve, Saturday's not such a bad idea. So that may be something in our future. And that could be a well-attended day where we break for lunch, and maybe some of the local groups make some money by providing lunch. So that's something that we can think about going down the bend there.
Yeah, and the other advantage is we're able to do town meeting in one session as opposed to breaking it up over 4 evenings, where people have to get home, have dinner, come down to town meeting, this made it, I think, much more accessible to people who couldn't make the evening meetings.
Yeah, I think that it did. I think candidly, other than the very, very hot day, so maybe people went to the beach. There wasn't another game in town either, so it wasn't like there was a lot going on. So going to town meeting was, was something to do for some people, I guess. But we had some important items at town meeting. We had zoning issues. We had a public safety building referendum or vote at that town meeting. And you know what? And not to mention a budget that we had to put forward, a budget that we were making some cuts on because of the pandemic. So all in all, I have to give the townspeople huge kudos for adapting and participating and really good at putting a best foot forward.
And, in general, I think the downtown also has responded well to the problem. The restaurants being able to have outdoor seating this summer helped a lot.
Yeah, I think we did pull the trigger quickly. I think we should have pulled it a little quicker. And I was still trying to work all that out. Based on what the state gave us. But I can see the outdoor dining experience being enhanced next year. I can see us, pandemic or not, I can see hopefully some areas in the downtown that we can utilize more, bring people there. It was wonderful sitting outside in whether it was any of the local restaurants after the November town meeting. Sitting outside and having lunch was wonderful too. It was a nice warm day in November. So I think that we learned that, hey, you can be outside in November and even in December if it's nice enough. And you can be outside in April. So I can see us bringing that back and encourage more walking, more biking. What were there some parking spaces taken? Yeah, but there wasn't a lot going on during the day anyway. Other businesses weren't really open. So I don't think there was much of a suffering. But I think that we've got to rethink that. And, we have a new economic development director that was hired, and Erin Cookinder, and she is we've been talking about this and what we can do to get more assets through the shared streets program through the state, and seeing what we can do to draw people downtown, bring people downtown. And was interesting to me was seeing some of the retail shops that maybe adjacent to some of the restaurants, and you can think of where they are, maybe getting a little bit of business later on, opening a little later, staying open while people are there for dinner, and people are sitting there having dinner outside and looking in the window, and geez, that's a nice outfit. And I saw a lot of people going in, and a little bit of cross-selling that came out of it. So I was very, very happy about that. And I think we need to do more. I think it's a wave of the future. Let's put it that way.
Well, it also seemed to work out very well in Greenwood too. A couple of the restaurants had areas for outdoor dining like Chibo and tequilas, but Blue Moon needed the barriers in order to,
right.
But they were well attended for breakfast outside.
And continuing, past Columbus Day, past town meeting in November, there were still people outside, chilly morning, but not too bad.
Right.
We're supposed to be hardy New Englanders, right? So we've gone a little soft.
But also at the same time, it helped to build what we were trying to do when we voted in town meeting a few years ago to allow sidewalk dining.
Yes.
It's terrible that it took a pandemic to kind of move that along, but I think you're right. It brought people to the downtown that might not otherwise have gone downtown.
And I think they found out that, geez, you know what? It's nice. It's nice being outside. You have traffic near you. But so what? That's, if you go to a lot of places in Europe, there's a lot of traffic near you, right? You're sitting out there, so why not? It's, I think we've got to learn from that, and I think we did.
Sure, sure. The other thing, of course, that changed was we didn't have obviously the public events that townspeople awake are used to, such as the 4th of July and things like that. We were able to get in one major event that was driven by current news at the time, and we've talked about it on the show before, but that was the Black Lives Matter march that happened at the very beginning of this whole process.
Right. And I've got to say that the relationship that our police department has with the community really, and the school department too, for that matter, with our community, was absolutely wonderful. It was a great dialogue. The police marched with the young people that led this, led by a number of our Wakefield students. Some of them were in the METCO program, some of them were not. And what a great blemish-free event where a lot of people in town showed solidarity, not a cross or a bad word or bad scene that I saw entirely along the route. People wearing masks, socially distanced for the most part. Wonderful comments by speakers when we marched from the Galvin to the field at the high school right outside of WCAT studios. And I got to tell you, probably one of the proudest moments that I have, and I think you share it too, David, of being a Wakefieldian and seeing how this community responded and how they reacted in that, and particularly how the young people led the way.
Right.
I mean, absolutely mind-boggling. And right before then, there was that same day there was a smaller, more intimate setting behind the Greenwood School, put on by the PTO there. I was able to attend that as well. What a great, it just really showed how wonderful this community is. But we have a long way to go. Whole community has a long way to go. The state, the country has a long way to go. But it was a great step forward, I thought, anyway.
But it's those step forwards that have to happen in order for anything to come about.
Yes, exactly.
The other thing that happened this year, largely because of the pandemic, but hopefully it will become a norm going forward, early mail-in voting in Wakefield seemed to be very popular.
Yeah, it was extremely, extremely popular with, thousands and thousands of people voting early by mail, dropping them off at town hall early by mail. And interestingly enough, the state budget that the governor did just sign does extend mail voting or early mail voting through March 31st of 2021. Now, that doesn't affect Wakefield because our town elections are later per the charter, but it'll be interesting to see that when it's not a federal election and it's a local election, how that plays out in some of the cities and towns that do vote a little earlier. So that was an interesting sidebar, I thought, but it really worked out well, seamlessly. No issues that I heard of any sort of fraud or anything like that. And let's not forget, there are states that do just mail-in voting. So this isn't like we're reinventing the wheel here. So it went very, very well in a presidential primary and a presidential year, which is, which is tough, logistically to handle, but very proud of our town clerk in pulling that all together.
But also the in-person early voting in town hall seemed to go really smoothly.
Really, very, 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 very well. A lot of people came in there. I think that it went so smoothly and so many people came that election day was much easier, was much less populated. So, that's something we'll have to be thinking about as we go forward. How do we make that early voting, in-person voting a little bit more, I don't want to say comfortable, a little bit more streamlined, because you didn't have a huge gym with all tellers set up and things like that. So we'll figure that out.
I don't know. It seemed to go, that's how I did it this year. And it seemed to go very, very smoothly, very well.
And a few times there was a little bit of a line, but that's okay. You know, at 8 o'clock in the morning, you'd see people lined up coming in, some in the cold and rain. So maybe there's a way to make it a little bit more comfortable for people. So
Now, as we're recording this show, little more than a week before Christmas, we're seeing an uptick nationwide, serious uptick nationwide. We're seeing an uptick statewide, not as bad as a lot of other areas, and we're seeing an uptick in Wakefield. But at the same time, we're also now have the hope of the new vaccine.
yes.
The health department, how are they starting to plan for that?
Well, you know, one thing that is we have done a number of flu shot clinics. You know, we've done a number of those. I was on a call today with the state, and the state Department of Health is creating guidance and guidelines on how this is going to happen, and what categories will be administered vaccines first, who will be doing it, and from where. And I think that, you know, as we're doing this a week before Christmas, the one vaccine that's out, the Pfizer vaccine, requires storage at a much lower temperature, and it's a little bit more cumbersome to handle.
Minus 94 degrees.
94, yeah. We don't have any dry ice plants in Wakefield that I know of, so to help out with that. So I think that initial dose and the second dose there will probably be administered a little bit differently than the Moderna one if it gets approved, when it gets approved, or maybe even today when we're filming this. A little bit more easy to handle. I think that has to be at -4 degrees, which is, you know, it's easier, a little easier to do. So that is going to be part of it. And the state is going to be coming out with some really good protocols again about who gets administered and how it gets administered. First responders, frontline workers, you know, certainly healthcare workers, teachers, you know, other workers, then people, and at the same time, people in the population that have a couple of issues that make them more susceptible. So that's all being kind of rolled out and worked out to the state level right now. There will be partnerships with places you know, like CVS and Walgreens, like they do with the flu shot.
Right.
So all of that's going to be done together. The question is, you know, we have a great nurses, great volunteers that are nurses in Wakefield. So I anticipate it going very smoothly, not with the Pfizer vaccine, because I don't think that any municipality, maybe a Boston or something, that doesn't have those freezers to do it. You know, that will probably be handled by the medical professionals in a hospital setting. And then the others, I think, will be involved in more rolling them out.
Because there's another one on the horizon. I think it's AstraZeneca. Yeah. So they may be coming soon too. So hopefully we'll see some return to normalcy this time next year.
Well, hopefully way before then. I'm a little bit more optimistic.
It's going to depend on a lot of factors. One thing I do want to make mention of before we wrap up is just how awesome our first responders have been, our healthcare people have been at all levels, and how much we owe to all those people, and town workers, the light department, the DPW, all of those folks that have had to work through this pandemic, regardless of what's happening at any given moment. And the fact that they've shown such total dedication to their jobs.
I so agree with you, and I think that a case can be made that people that worked during this time your townspeople, your first responders, your DPW workers, certainly your healthcare professionals have saved more lives than probably anybody in the history of this country. I think there's a case to be made that the things that they've done with contact tracing follow-up and keeping people safe and keeping they have done more. Case can be made for that they really have answered the bell through the whole entire process. My biggest problem at the town hall level was keeping people away. No, you can't come in. We got to be, we have to be distanced. And, again, we were open well before many places were. So I can't say enough about how these people have responded. We had that testing on Sunday up on Hemlock Road, going up by the Voke for Wakefield residents and employees. And lo and behold, I went up there and great partnership with the Cataldo ambulance. They're doing the testing. And there are town employees volunteering to help out with the, registering of people and getting them in and getting them through the line on a Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, 2 weeks before Christmas, there to help the town. So you just can't say enough about that. Unbelievable.
Yeah, no, it's just been extraordinary to watch these people do what they needed to do, regardless of what the situation was all around them.
Really, really fabulous.
So Christmas is 9 days away.
Yes.
9 days away. This is the end of our 11th season.
I know.
And, before we do go, I do want to wish everyone in Wakefield and their families, their extended families, happy holidays, a happy new year. And we will be back in January to hopefully keep everyone informed as to the things that are going on.
Yeah, as do I want to wish everybody a safe and happy time over the next few weeks with your family. Please, please, please. I know it's hard. I know you want to have this huge event. Have a lot of people over, see a lot of people, but I think we need to stay strong for the next, for this next few weeks here. Vaccines will hopefully come out. The surge that we're seeing right now is absolutely because of people, and I get it, getting together with people that don't usually mingle with, and people that aren't in the household over Thanksgiving. That's happening nationwide. And when we're seeing it 2 weeks from now and what have you. And you know what, everyone can do a little bit. Everyone does one thing, one small thing to stop, to stop the spread. That will grow exponentially. So I would just say, stay safe, everybody. Have a blessed and happy and holy time, no matter what you're celebrating. And 2021, it's going to be a better year. We will certainly be out there. Festival by the Lake, I'm going to say, we'll be back as of today. 4th of July parade, fireworks, holiday stroll, Festival Italia, Festival by the Lake, movies by the lake for WCAT. All these things we want to have happen again. Outdoor graduation for our class of 21. But let's stay strong to make sure we can do it next year. So thank you, David, and Happy New Year and Merry Christmas to you and your family as well.
And you as well, and to your family, and especially your parents. I still remember your dad as my guidance counselor back in junior high.
He remembers you.
That may not be such a good thing. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you next month.
Take care.